All right. Arbor One versus Savannah Powell, and Savannah Powell versus Arbor One.
Good morning, Your Honor. Cheryl Lukoff on behalf of plaintiff and counter defendant.
Your name, ma'am?
Sorry.
All right. And where are we on these cases?
Your Honor, Ms. Powell is represented by counsel, Mr. Biggs, who's also present by Zoom. I'm
Oh, is
not
it?
sure. I believe so, yes.
Is he there?
I think he's muted.
Oh, you're muted, counsel.
Sorry, Your Honor. That was actually one item I wanted to address with the court. Ms. Lukoff and I were working on a settlement discussion. We were very close to getting, I think, to a resolution. And as such, we were hoping to just get a brief adjournment of today's hearing, and we're putting that on the record. However, I heard from my client this morning that she was not interested in settlement, and moreover wanted to proceed as representing herself. So, Your Honor, I propose this is now an oral motion to withdraw as counsel if my client wishes to proceed in pro per.
On the date of trial?
That was what I was informed at 7 o'clock this morning, Your Honor.
I wasn't informed of the settlement until about 4 o'clock last night, maybe a little bit earlier. But I told him weeks ago that this was going to go through, that I wasn't going to have any more money to pay him. So for the sake of not having to go back into your court because I can't pay rent for my new apartment, I don't have the means to have it anymore. So this is something that has been communicated on multiple occasions with him.
What's been communicated?
That I don't have any more money to get.
I couldn't hear that, Your Honor. I'm sorry. That she doesn't have what?
That she doesn't have any more money to give the attorney. Well, okay, so if I allow your counsel to withdraw, right, and don't adjourn the trial, what are you going to do today?
Today, I mean, I'm prepared to move forward. I have all of the documentation, pictures, videos, everything that I need.
Okay, so.
And we can adjourn now if you'd like.
Well, I know we're going to do what I like, but that goes without saying. But I'm trying to figure out, counsel, were you close to resolving the case?
Well, we were close to what we believed was a reasonable settlement, but my client was dissatisfied with that idea and wishes to proceed against the advice of counsel.
And you're not interested in settling the matter, ma'am?
With the amount that was offered. I can't afford what was offered. So I'm kind of just in a really awkward spot here.
Wait, let me, was it? Okay. And if nobody wants to discuss it with me, that's fine, except that, is it an amount you have to pay? Okay. And is the amount, there could be two reasons why an amount is whatever. It could be because payment is a lump sum that I can't afford to pay. Okay. Or I just need the dollar amount is not what the dollar amount is. The dollar. I just need to find a way to manage and be able to manage the dollar. You follow me?
Yeah, I follow you.
Okay, so of those two options, is which one is it? Or is it none of that?
So
And you don't have to answer me if you don't want to, because I mean, it's a non-jury trial, so I don't want to really be involved in settlement. But you've had counsel, there's negotiated with other counsel, they've come to something, and I want to make sure that you're not just sort of making a decision because of this financial pressure here, and then deciding to go to trial, and then next thing you know, you end up worse off than where you may have been. That's what I'm looking.
I appreciate that, Your Honor. And I mean, if I'm being fully honest, the only time I've been in court aside from this was for a traffic ticket when I was 17. So
Yesterday then, right? Okay, go ahead.
But I am not super familiar with legal proceedings, especially in landlord-tenant. I deal with some.
Oh boy, then a trial would have been fun. Go ahead.
Minimal experience in my job. I work in the Department of Anesthesia, so I do a lot of contracting and legal licensing legal wise. We're actually in the middle of a site visit at work, so this is a really good day for me to be here. But there's a couple things. One being that I feel like I have the documentation and I've been very reasonable before this even came to court with the leasing complex, providing all the documentation when I told them that I was initially withholding rent, which is why I was in eviction court in the first place. I told them that I was willing to provide all the documentation that I had. And to make a long story short, they decided to ghost me and not respond to the multiple emails that I sent, and then it sets up the eviction notice.
Who ghosted you?
The apartment complex, the manager.
Oh, okay.
But I feel like if I had the chance to present the documentation, the emails, the videos, the pictures, everything that I have a really good case.
Okay. Let me just say this. Everybody who comes here thinks they have a good case.
Absolutely.
Okay. At least half of them are wrong. Okay. That's one of the reasons why settlements happen. And being in court is not necessarily, I mean, I enjoy it, but it's not necessarily fun for folks. And so you try to resolve things where you can. So again, going back to my one question, because it's going to be a determination as to what I do with this case today. Is it an issue of I don't like the amount?
Correct.
Or managing that amount?
It's a little bit of both. I don't like the amount because I shouldn't have to pay rent with the things that were going.
Okay, but listen. What do you do if after hearing everything, you end up with a worse number?
That's a really good question.
I know, I asked it. So what do you do then? I mean, ma'am, understand this. And people don't sometimes understand it about attorneys and what they're doing for the client. But I'm sure with these two attorneys, they work very hard to try to come to something that's acceptable to both sides. All right. I would imagine as much as you are unhappy, Ms. Luckoff's client probably thinks, well, we might be able to do better too. But there's always a downside risk. All right. Which sometimes can just be crazy Judge Simpson and what he's going to come up with. All right. That can sometimes be the downside risk. And everybody didn't have to laugh so hard at that. All right. But the real question is how do you get yourself to a spot that's comfortable for you? Do you really, listen, really, do you really want to go through a trial? I mean, really?
Realistically, I never wanted to do any of this in the first place.
Okay, then that's the answer. And your attorney I'm sure, knew that and is trying to negotiate the best possible solution for you. And sometimes that number is not. Every month I get a DTE bill. I don't like that number. All right. But I had to figure out a way to manage it. And sometimes that really is what the hiccup is. Okay. So what would you like me to do?
So to make this decision, I had like not even 12 hours. Because this came to me late yesterday afternoon, and that's kind of how this entire thing has gone. I've had hours to make huge decisions like this, and they're very big decisions. Because essentially we're playing with my financial freedom. I have used the majority of the money that I had saved for the down payment for a house on all of this. Again, just because I was trying to be an honest person, and if you look at the prorated rent for what I was asking before this even I even started withholding rent, it was like $300. We're all standing here for now, thousands of dollars amount for something that could have just been involved if they would have just reimbursed me for the couple of days.
It's why I have a job.
Which is why.
Go ahead.
This felt like the gut decision to make because I feel like I have been going through this entire process in the dark. And a lot of questions that I've asked have been met with I don't know. A lot of things that I have figured out have been through Google, which I'm sure is not the best source for legal advice.
Is it?
I spent
Okay, go ahead.
hours on like I have been doing my best, but this felt like the decision to make because
What
the
decision?
amount that they are asking, the decision that I made to move forward today and show up here with what I thought was without representation. I did tell Brandon ahead of time that I had no more money to pay him. But I don't even know where it's going. Oh, the amount that they're asking for the settlement was the amount of the rent that I was withholding anyways, including the time that I was out of hot water. So essentially I have spent I would be spending that money anyways, and then I would be losing out on thousands of dollars for an attorney.
Okay, so what do you want to, that's, okay,
Okay.
ma'am, that always is a risk.
Absolutely, I understand that.
So what do you want to do? I mean,
What?
understand something. Sometimes what you do is you get yourself involved in something, feeling that you're right. I don't think that a lot of people come before me not thinking that they're right at the outset. But all of a sudden you get kind of toward the end, and this isn't turning out anything like I think it should. So you can do one or two things at that point. You can double down and then go ahead, and then, oh God, you never know what's going to happen. Or what you do is you make a decision. I'm cutting my losses. I'm moving on with my life. All right. So what do you want me to do today? You came here for a reason. I mean, I'll give you a trial, but I don't think you really want a trial.
What are my options for today? Because I don't even, my options.
Whatever I say.
What options do you have?
Well, the reason I was asking the questions is because I'm trying to fashion something that will make sense to all parties. I would imagine that Ms. Lukoff has spent a great deal of time trying to negotiate this with your attorney. And so they're invested in doing this too. So I'm keeping that in mind. But then I get here on the date of trial. I have a litigant who now wants to get rid of their attorney, and so there are a number of things I can do. I could force you to trial today.
She is having remorse for jumping in the deep end of the pool. Miss Lukoff, although graceful and beautiful, is a strong advocate for her client. She will hold her own, and a pro se defendant has no chance to outsmart her. Hashtag Team Lukoff.
Right? don't know that that would be entirely fair to you because I think you're as prepared to go as you want to go. But well, I'll leave that there. I could adjourn the trial and see if you guys could just hammer in the fine details of what's going on.
Um, I'm naturally such a pacifist that like this is also.
What?
I said I'm naturally such a pacifist, like this is the first time that I've ever had the confidence to do something like this. Sorry.
It's okay. All right, look, young lady. No, just listen. Okay. I'm glad you said that. Okay. Because what you're doing, and it's a hard thing, because what you're doing is you're standing up fighting for yourself. Probably haven't done that a lot. You probably just kind of give in and go on your way. So you stand up, you're fighting for yourself, and then you get to this point, and you've invested in fighting for yourself. And so when you go to that side of things, it then becomes a bit harder to just, in your head, you're thinking it becomes harder to give in, even though that solution may very well be what ultimately is in your long-term interest. But in the back of your head, you're still saying to yourself, I'm not giving in, I'm fighting. And sometimes fighting may not be the best thing. And that's your dilemma.
I think you're probably correct, Your Honor.
Not probably. I'm the judge. I'm always correct.
Okay.
All right. But sooner or later, she'll figure it out.
I mean, it is your courtroom.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. No, this one isn't mine. I don't like this one. What?
I said I'm happy to meet you.
Yeah, there's people in mine. But anyway, go ahead.
I'd also like to point out that before this settlement that I declined, as of this morning, we had another settlement that I gave Brandon the okay on, and then when it was written up, it came up as more than it was supposed to be. I don't know how that was determined. Brandon thinks that perhaps it was because of the amount that I have had in escrow was not accounted for in the settlement that was drawn up. But I think you're correct. I think again, I never stand up for myself. Others I have no problem standing up for. I feel this daughter of 5. I was just treated heavily, like it's never a problem. But for myself, I would rather go play in traffic than like
Then the what?
play in traffic. I really don't like standing up for myself. Long story short. But I just
Playing in traffic. Go ahead.
oh, I lost my train of thought again. I just have been so overwhelmed with this entire process, and every large decision has come hours before, or the evening before, or the morning of the court date.
Welcome to the law.
Yeah, that's not generally how I function in a personal or even in a professional sense. I'm a pretty tight ship against each other, but I just feel like I have never had enough time to make a solid decision throughout this entire proceeding. So if we could adjourn, and maybe if I have more than 12 hours to think about a settlement, or we could adjourn to a jury trial, and I could consider
A jury trial. I don't
Your
think
Honor,
anybody-
that ship has sailed respectfully.
Yeah, it's me. Yeah. Ooh, joy. But no, I don't mind trying the case. I really don't. But I can adjourn it out. I mean, how much time are you going to need to think this through?
To think this through whether or not I'm taking the settlement. If I could have. Let's see, today's Tuesday.
It was. No, it is. Go ahead.
Sorry, I forgot. Today's Tuesday. Can I have until? I don't think I'll need until Friday at noon, but can I have until Friday at noon? Or do you need?
No. Are you going to be able to Friday at noon? Okay. So let's say you decide you're going to take the off. How are you intending to communicate that?
However.
Okay, let's do this.
I'm happy to play.
Hold on, just hold on. All right, because okay. Counsel, your motion to withdraw is denied.
Yes, sir.
You'd have to file a written motion. All right. So here's what that means. What that means is an attorney, once they get into a case, can't come out of a case until the court says they can come out of a case. I'm not letting them out of the case. Okay. So that's your attorney still. You guys figure out your communication, but you still have an attorney. I will adjourn the trial. All right, there's been a request to do that. So I'm going to adjourn it. What I want you to think about, young lady, is sometimes when you stand up for yourself, you learn a little bit about yourself just by the process. Not by what ultimately happens, but by the process. And it isn't really about the end, right? Life's a journey. And you said it yourself, otherwise I wouldn't be discussing this, that you're usually one that sort of doesn't stand up for yourself, flows like water, as opposed to whatever, right? And sometimes getting to that point of whoever you want to be in that regard, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be defined by these two cases in front of me. It's a journey. And so you have to figure out, did I get enough? And it may be, I got enough out of this part of it that all said and done, I'm a better person. I'm closer to where I want to be. And that's all that you can ask. Right? Win, lose, or draw, these cases don't define you. Right? All right. So here's what I'm going to do, folks. There was a request to adjourn anyway. So when's my next day?
Tuesday 14th, which is next week.
All right. I'm going to adjourn this out 1 week. You guys are close to settlement. I think it can be resolved. All right. You're a bright young lady. Figure this out. Okay. But work it all through. Right. I don't think you want to be in a courtroom all day. I just don't think you do. Yeah. Someday I have days like that too. All right. Yeah. Well, all right. So, folks, I'll adjourn a non-jury trial 1 week out, and hopefully she'll have time to think through the resolution, think through what's been said today, talk with your attorney about how you got there. And, you know, I think sometimes what people don't understand about attorneys is that they're really doing what's in their client's interest, and you may not like it. Right? But what's important, in as much as it's for the attorney to listen to the client, really also listen to your attorney. Okay. All right. 1 week. You guys come back. You guys resolve this thing. Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
She really needs a lawyer to give her a chance against Miss Luckoff. I have never seen Miss Luckoff be unfair, but she certainly will do all she can to represent her client. Put your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to like, subscribe and share. It's free and helps the mission of adding more accountability to the courts. The more public they are, the more they know their actions will be seen. Education is an essential aspect of freedom.